Alright, so hi everyone. We have some really great news. We are finally, 2 years later almost, shipping. And people have gotten their units, they're arriving. We do still, if you've seen the latest update, have some issues with importation. And we did find some brief issues with the software, which we'll get to at the end. But otherwise, we're really excited that we are finally delivering your units. I know you guys have been waiting a really long time. So just wanted to say from the bottom of our hearts and everyone here in the team, thank you very, very much. It is a little bit loud right now because we are still in production. That's pretty much all we've been doing for the past 6 months, and then before that UL, and you guys know the whole story. We just wanted to have a really quick video to show you what we accomplished in that time, the product you're actually finally going to get, because we're pretty excited with what you're going to see. And again, say thank you very much for your patience, and apologies it took so long to do that. So with that, Alex is going to lead you through the beautiful history of ProtoCycler.
So yeah, again, apologies everyone for the super long wait. I know it's taken a lot longer than we initially promised, but there's been countless issues that have come up since then. And we've worked tirelessly to innovate and create new solutions to the problems while keeping the cost down as much as possible. And so we're going to just show you what we've sort of gone through, where it started and where it's come to. So here we have our initial design that we showed off during our Indiegogo campaign, and as you can see, it's quite a bit different than it is now. So it got the job done. It had a lot of bugs and issues, but you know, it worked on a basic level. You know, the whole user interface was in here, and it was sort of dropped down, so it was a lot harder to interact with things. We ran into a lot of issues with things getting jammed up in there. So you'll see how we've improved that. As well, the grinder in there at that time was actually quite rudimentary, all being aluminum and stacked on shafts. So that's all changed quite a bit because a lot of those things ran into issues. As well as the extruder was also quite simple. Aluminum auger in an aluminum tube, just pushing things through, and it was driven by a DC gear motor at that time. So you can see, you know, this whole sort of chassis and everything is very weak, flimsy. The door is sort of a separate thing in the front here, and that all just made everything really difficult to interact with, caused issues for UL and everything. So now we'll go over to this one, which is sort of in pieces. I mean, we've sort of taken ideas and evolved them over time, so old prototypes aren't 100% together, but now we switched it to this whole front opening up so you get full access to the user interface in here, and made a lot of improvements for UL. The grinder opening is fully open now so that you can see the entire hopper for the grinder. That's necessary so that the lid can slide inside and be completely enclosed from everything else. At this time, you know, we still had some 3D printed plastic components in there. Thought we might be able to get away with that, but UL came back, said we actually need any plastics to be flammability certified, and told us about, you know, our opening requirements and everything for flame proofing our enclosure. So we had to iterate on that quite a bit, and that sort of brings us to our new current design, which, I mean, there's been a lot of iterations in between, but you can see everything's completely enclosed, has UL stickers, nice faceplate stating the UL certification. All those plastic components have either been switched to laser cut certified plastics, or have switched to a small enough 3D printed part, or sheet metal, such as the hopper on the extruder, which this is the extruder that's inside of there right now. As well, everything's a lot cleaner, and all of those issues that have come up along the way that you guys, you know, got to see have been solved. So those DC gear motors, you know, we got rid of those, had to switch to a stepper motor, which you can see in here, and for torque feedback we had to add this this torque sensor, which, I mean, we can give you a little bit more details on the exact functions there, but it works really nicely and actually ended up behaving a lot better than the DC gearbox. We had to add the stators in, which I think everyone that was at least paying attention had an idea of that. And more recently, we've had to change things like, you know, having, instead of that aluminum auger, we've got the brass auger, it actually rides on a bushing right around here between the feed and the stators, so that it can't deflect and hit the stators as we were having that issue. Plenty more little things that have popped up along the way. You can see our whole grinder drawer. Very nice. We actually laser cut and bend this using a method called laser origami, which we're pretty stoked about how far we've developed. But it actually also has inside of it a sorting system, so that this sits in there as it's grinding, and when it's done you pull it out and sort of shake it like so, and it allows only the small enough particles for extrusion to fall through and into here, and then you can dump those in and then regrind the parts that haven't quite been ground down enough. So that sort of makes that all nice and sleek and easy to interact with. And then finally we have the spooler over here, which has changed drastically. Before, you know, it was sort of this thing that hinged out of the side. It had a lot of issues. It couldn't hold much weight. It was a pretty flexible arm that was holding it, and it tried to power everything through friction, and it just would fall apart. So now, you know, we're supporting the shaft from both ends, so there's no bending. We're actually doing the spooling through having this slip clutch here, so you can see that the shaft can rotate independently of the motor pulley, and that's dependent on how tight this is. So by tightening it, it increases the friction and makes it so that this, while it's pulling, will only give it a certain amount of force, and that can be tuned. So this just ends up, you know, being way nicer to interact with, and way more reliable to just leave it by itself. So obviously we can't go into everything. We've already gone through a lot of detail, but you know, there's all sorts of stuff in there. So hopefully over the next little while we'll be doing a lot more videos going into detail of exactly how to operate it, exactly, you know, showing exactly how things like that torque sensor works, and you know, sort of highlighting a little bit more. But now I'll pass it back to Denon to tell you what to expect going forward.
Alright everyone, so there's a quick overview of all the work we've been up to for the past 2 years. As you all know, we are working pretty tirelessly right now on production and fulfillment. Those are our priorities 1 through 100. We did get a lot of feedback over the past month when we were trying to sort out our final shipping issues that you guys want more updates, even if they're super quick. So we'll be working on trying to get those done. More few informal videos like this. We just grab the camera and shoot these. As you guys can tell, there's no film crew or anything right here. But just to get you guys more involved in what's going on, especially now that units are arriving. A lot of support's going to start happening. Our support page should go live very soon. It will be a work in progress for a while we get all of your feedback and what, you know, is not clear, what needs to be made more clear, etc. Software will be upgraded significantly, we suspect, over the next few months as different people find that machines need tuning in different ways. But as of right now, units are being shipped out. We are hoping to start getting our kind of pre-order units in the next month or so, fingers crossed. Things always seem to go wrong, so take that with a big grain of salt. But other than that, everything's going really well. As I mentioned to start, the people that already have your units, if you have a North American unit, there is 1 or 2 issues with the firmware. We've already emailed you, or we should have already emailed you, and we'll be fixing that hopefully within the next few days, keeping everyone up to date on that as well. So thank you guys all again so much for your patience and waiting. We hope you're just as excited as we are to finally get your ProtoCycler. It's ready, it's arriving at people's doorsteps right now. And yeah, thank you guys all very much. Take care.
Thanks a lot.